So now I'd like to call up a good friend, also of Silicon Valley Video Summit, and a talent in his own right, Eric Iverson, who is the CTO from United Talent Agency. Eric.
You got that one? You got that one? How's everyone doing? Yeah, a little woohoo. Thank you for the clap out there. You're beautiful.
We're going to play 10 questions with Eric Iverson for the next few minutes, but how many of you know just how big United Talent Agency is and what Eric did before? So Eric, give them a little level setting.
All right, here we go. First of all, how many of you know what the hell a talent agency even does? Fantastic. I've worked at one now, a couple. I still don't have an idea what they do, but so we're going to try to maybe just take 1 second on that, and that'll actually help. So the easiest way to think about it is, talent agency's number one job is to help find and create opportunities and book gigs in a way for clients, but it's kind of complicated depending on which business you're in. So let's take a big step back. How many, if you put your fingers up, how many really big full-service talent agencies are there? Does anyone know? They're good, well done. There we go. So we're doing well in our Jeopardy here. You guys are going to be a good Jeopardy team.
You're going to tell the rest of them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's three. It's three. Yeah, so it's three. And actually, a lot of them have their roots from WME, which has been in it for the longest. So CAA, WME, and UTA. And they all have little different focuses on it. And certainly, there's many more. So you have smaller agencies that focus on certain areas. Have you seen Jerry Maguire? How many Jerry Maguire fans out there? Yeah, okay, good. Yes, that might be really focused on sports or something like that. What's a little different, and this is actually getting into the scope and actually some of the work that we have to do, has to do with what a full service talent agency needs to do. So we're in about 53 different businesses. And that's what gives us our complexity. And so we're headquartered in Beverly Hills. We have offices in Nashville, Atlanta, New York, and London, Munich, and a couple other smaller offices in growing around the world. But the biggest thing is that we have, if you could imagine someone you think is really interesting, a celebrity or a talent, doing anything that we like to consume, we probably have talent in that category. And as you can imagine, each of those businesses acts a little differently. So if you think about filmed entertainment, even television, if you work, how many people work in filmed entertainment businesses of some kind? Yeah. So even between television and motion picture don't act the same, right? If you go to a studio, you have different executives and they kind of work at different paces and speeds and different genres. So we have a number of businesses in filmed entertainment, above the line, some below the line talent. And then we have other businesses such as live, this last panel, really got you to understand that. So we book live shows. And that's a really important thing. We do that for comedians, musicians, and speakers as an example of that. Athletes. So athletes would be NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, European football, also known as soccer here in the U.S., and several others. And as you can imagine, each of those leagues, if you work in one of those, are they the same or different? They're kind of different, different data that you're actually going to need for NFL or one of those. So we have those, and then anyone watch YouTube? Okay, so then we got all of those, all the creators and influencers and whatnot.
You have brands.
And then the last one,
yeah.
Exactly. And so then the last bucket is brands. And so how many people here are a brand, right? Your brands are here in the room. Yeah? Okay, so at the end of the day, that it's what brands, and this is going to lead into our next topic pretty well, is brands are trying to figure out what's the best way to tell their story, right? And that's actually so where do you go? You go to where culture is. Where's culture? The people that are making culture right now, which is this bucket of people, right? And so that kind of gives you kind of a scope of maybe what we're doing.
I mean, it's vast. You ought to go to the website. I was blown away. And then you ought to read about Eric, because he's really...
No, don't read about Robin. Yeah, it's all about you.
Amazon, Sony Pictures, Now, a big job as the CTO of this sprawling thing that, my sense, is super data-driven.
Super data-driven, yeah.
And that is sort of your secret sauce.
And I would say even more so. So first of all, maybe to kind of put a mental model, how many people, we got the Super Bowl coming here next 2 weeks, right? I'm excited about that, a week and a half. Real excited. Hopefully, is anyone here going? Because I need a couple tickets if anyone's going to. Yeah. But let's use the Super Bowl example. I actually like using the Super Bowl as a litmus test to give you kind of an understanding of culture, and then this is going to get to data. So what's really interesting about the Super Bowl, and watch it really carefully, this is the largest broadcast that happens in the United States every year. It's the Super One. People like ads. Anybody in here like Super Bowl ads? right? And what do you like about them? They're fun and creative and cultural, like the good ones, right? There's some, and then there's a few that you're like, what the hell just happened? But yeah, flush some money down the toilet. That's pretty funny. But the thing is that you have players. So for UTA, let's look at from that point of view. So you have players. We'll have players on the field, clients. How many people like Bad Bunny?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a halftime show, right? We're going to have right? So that's there. And then all throughout the whole week that's leading in there, you're going to have parties, musicians, live bands that are going to get booked all week long, comedians that are going to get booked all week long. Where do you think like some talent are going to show up to go talk about some of their film projects? Let's go to the Super Bowl. We'll meet up at the Super Bowl, right? So it is a major cultural event. It's not just one thing. And so back to kind of like the data problem.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the last shared cultural events. I mean, the Oscars, we have very few shared cultural moments, and that is
it's a big
one. And that's just the Super Bowl proper. Then there's the world surrounding it, which is fandom and the local bar, and the Zoom people know that also. I mean, it's pretty vast. So keep going. We're on this data tear.
So that's going to be across the, so everyone's with me. Like the Super Bowl is a cultural event that is literally it's going to touch every single business unit that we have in some way, for sure. And that will be true not only for UTA, but for all of the major talent agencies. It's a major cultural event. So you can imagine all these people are showing up there. Like, what's the problem? Can you imagine, like, you work at one of these companies or you're one of those, what are you trying to do? You're trying to, like, meet people, right? You're trying to get in the right, like, there's all this the activity happening at different parties. You have to get to the right party, meet the right person. This is where deals are going to get done, right? So at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that we find the best opportunities for clients. That's not just like, oh, ding, another like just opportunity came in today, and then we, just go cha-ching, like go click the book system, and like it just happens, right? Occasionally a little bit of that, but most of it is a lot more complex, right? You're putting a deal together, you're figuring out the pieces of the puzzle, right? That's going to happen at one of these places. Well, how do you do something like that? And this is kind of the easiest thing. If I give you like one thing, like what's the one super hard problem that we would have as a talent agency, and this may resonate with some other companies, is how do we connect the dots? And we have agents that'll ask me that. It's like, we need to do a better job of connecting the dots. Well, what does that mean? What does that mean, connecting the dots? And that's a complex problem across 53 different businesses that you're in. But let's take a little bit of a step back. So if you don't understand, like, again, the agency, like, our clients are our employees, right? They're our clients. We serve them to get them these opportunities and find and book them. Well, they book with another party, a buyer, if they were like we in the previous panel, rock and roll, which is awesome. And they're on a live tour. We have to book them into each venue, and we have to like do the work and the contract work to get them into these venues and whatnot. And so we have to do these kind of like sales opportunities that we have to figure out. And in a lot of cases, it's all about connecting the dots on who's the right person to get there in the room, who's the person that sometimes it's competitive in some of these venues, like who's the conversations that we need to have, who's the right person to make the right phone call to make that thing happen, and who would know more about that, who can make the thing happen that could never happen before, right?
So is there a technology for that?
I think there's a couple things. I think we can see is like everyone in the room is dealing with some form of data science and AI and blah, 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 right? Everybody, right? Yep. Okay. So all of us that are in that business know one thing. You get bad AI with bad data, and you get good AI with good data. And then I think on that side, I kind of break that down into two buckets. One is workflows, like how does like when I'm connecting the dots, how do I actually make that work so it's actually does connect the dots? Because that's a workflow when I connect the dots, not necessarily just an insight. And then the second is kind of insights. And all of that is based on the fact that you do a good job of data management up front. So it's a long way of saying we have two things. We definitely, if you looked at our website, you would see we have like an IQ program, which is actually a whole data insights group. We do that for we do that for client opportunities, looking at client opportunities, the market, how do we understand that? How do we proactively look at a client's profile and help them make the case on whether or not their opportunity is going to connect the dots with the buyer's audience, right, or it's the right match, right? Does that make sense?
So,
right. Yeah, go ahead.
Everybody wants you have a proprietary data system that
yes. And we would have to, because if you're in 53 different businesses, there's not like, oh, let's go to the company that has like 53, entertainment businesses all wired up together. I mean, and some of the data that you have is data no one else has. So as you can imagine, like and this is the thing that's kind of interesting. The projects that are going to happen in 2 to 3 years are known by a few number of people that are actually working on making the projects. And to put it in perspective, when I left Sony Pictures, I had my first week it was another talent agency, but I walked into a motion picture meeting, and they were talking about everything that was potentially on the slate, and I'm like, holy shit! I just learned like 15 projects. I was on a senior team over at Sony. I had no idea, because the things that they are potentially going to make that are really sensitive, nobody else knows. It's like a super small group of people that may be working on those potential opportunities while they're working on them. So anyway, that's the proprietary data. So yes, we have technology, we have our platforms, both the managed transactional data and then also kind of data science data. And then the thing that we're spending a lot of time right now is how do you connect the dots between all of them? And those are your kind of agentic workflows and architectures which we're building out now. And
you guys are doing a lot with predictive data, like starting to look at simulating data to find out what the sentiment would be, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, as you can all imagine, things are changing a lot, right? So one of the things that we're hitting more often, data's really good about looking into the past, but we're more often seeing that we're trying to do an analysis on something that hasn't existed yet, or there's not a large enough panel. So we didn't invent this, but we see it. We're definitely leaning in, like other companies, into synthetic data to actually create, so you could actually run kind of some form of simulation on what the situation might be, and that's been working for us. I'm sure some of you may be doing that. Some of you out there, yeah, good. Yeah, there you go, that guy right there.
Yeah,
so meet him.
That's great. That's right. Meet that guy. So, what's really exciting about this not only is talent. Eric and I talked about this. It's talent. It's the IP management, it's the distribution management, but more and more, you've got some thorny things coming up, like how many Dr. Spocks can I have out there in the physical world? How many deep fakes? How do I manage somebody's IP? Talk to us about some of the things that are going to be a problem for every CEO. When you can send your CEO virtually to every meeting, it's a problem that we're all going to share, right?
Yeah. So maybe I'll just real quick talk about a couple things that we're kind of seeing, which are kind of fun. But overarchingly, and I would actually offer this to you. I got 3 kids. How many people out here have kids? Yeah. So I would offer this. I'm offering this same advice for kids and like my own kids. But I see this firsthand, and I just can't. Anyone was at Sundance Film Festival last week besides me? All right. Wasn't it fun? It was fun. Okay. So I'm going to talk with you guys back there.
The last Sundance film.
Yeah, the last one in Park City. But so what we're really seeing, both like in indie film and the creators, and I see this with athletes and musicians have always been this way. I grew up as a musician. It's kind of like the rise of the entrepreneur. Does anyone feel like you're having to be way more entrepreneurial than we were 5 or 6, 10 years ago? I think that is that's going to be the new norm. You should everyone in this room, you're all entrepreneurs. Congratulations, you just came out here to the summit to find that out. You thought you were working for someone unless you're a CEO, but you have to be an entrepreneur. And that's one of the things that makes it a little extra challenging right now is the number of opportunities right now in the world has gotten so much bigger. And so that we're having to connect the dots among a lot more opportunities than we ever did before. And so that's kind of like this entrepreneurial spirit. So if you're going to make it in music, most people aren't making it just in music. You have to think more broadly than that. And what's my social play? And what else am I going to do? And am I recording? Or do I need to go on a show? And man, everyone's turning into an entrepreneur. It's super fascinating. And so I think that's one of the things by having these kind of larger distribution platforms. And that's exhilarating and pretty Wild West right now. And then on the other thing, which is what AI is offering to us, and we see kind of 3 things, and we're going to talk about one of those things in the next panel. But we actually have new opportunities that have been created about that. So we refer to that as name, image, likeness. We throw voice in, maybe throw aesthetic in. But that is basically, the digital representation of talent or human and whatnot, and finding opportunities for that. So we've got a couple great opportunities that we've seen for clients, like Aquafina. If you ever, one of the voices of Meta is Aquafina. Her digital voice, that's her digital voice. That's an example of that. Or Craig Robinson did this I don't know if everyone saw that AT&T went viral alarm clock that he did, and it's like his digital voice wake you up in the morning. So those are examples of that. We're going to talk about generative production next, and that's where you use these kind of tools to help in storytelling, so that's exciting. And then the last one you mentioned, which is tricky, is kind of been in the Wild West on deep fakes, right? Yeah, so there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to figure out this problem. We work with many of them. We've had that happen to our clients. And those are things that we, as a tech team, also have to get involved in and figure out kind of how we're going to handle
Deepfakes, digital rights. So we've got like 9 seconds left. So the last question. So tell us a talent, if you would share, that's been like really problematic and sort of push those digital rights management. Like, come on, give us the skinny.
All right. Well, all of our clients are amazing, and we have one in here that's going to be on our next panel, Nick Cleveroff. But what I might do is to kind of answer it in a slightly different way, which
so much more tactful.
Which is this way, which is, you know, it's one of the things that's a blessing and is also a challenge. Is think about if you think about like a Jalen Hurts, like one of the best quarterbacks, you know, in the NFL. You don't get to that level without having extraordinary discipline in your life. So when we work with, at least most of the clients I've had a chance to work with, they all have a very high bar in their own lives. That's the reason they're performing at a high level, is because they perform at a high level. And so we kind of have to match that. And you put that and entrepreneurialism together. So I will call out one, because I ended up serendipitously at a dinner with one of our clients, who's will.i.am. Everyone familiar with will.i.am? The artist and innovator.
Great innovator.
So I'll use him as like the super classic case. First of all, he's super cool. He's brilliant. And he was at CES. Does anyone know why he was at CES? Anyone want to take a guess?
Yes, he had.
Do you know?
Go ahead.
He launched 4 products at CES.
Every year.
He's a musician. He launched 4 products, including a car. Like, okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot to keep up with, right? So what I would actually saying is, you know, keeping up with this pace of the entrepreneurialism right now, and they're like, let's go, right? They're ready to go on to the next thing. And so I think that's why, like, the connecting the dots, having a data platform, being able to be kind of more automated and efficient is pretty important in this business. And we hope we help all of you, because if we do a good job of what we're doing, consumers win, brands win, you know, entertainment platforms win. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense of what we're trying to do. And I think our next panel is going to talk about how
pick his brain, because all your CEOs want to aspire to this entrepreneurial. So it won't be long, but 10 questions with Eric Iverson. And now Eric's going to stay here and moderate the next panel. But first, we have a quick word from one of our sponsor partners.